Welcome to Attainable Green. I'm Jess, and today I'm going to share with you a houseplant tour of my indoor growing space. Now, I grow half of my orchids indoors and half of them outdoors, so this is going to be a two-part video, and this episode is going to be focusing on the indoor space. In my house, I have 4 growing areas in which I have orchids, and I'm going to share with you a little bit more about how each one is laid out to give you some context about how I'm growing my plants indoors. The first space is the main bedroom. Now, we don't really sleep here anymore because this kind of became the cat room and then also kind of an office and studio. The way that this room is oriented, I have a wall of windows to the right of me. And in that area, that is where all the plants are located. I have 3 large windows that are west facing, so they get a lot of light and quite a bit of warmth. So in this area, I have mostly Phalaenopsis and Paphs. So on the left-hand side, starting out, I have most of my winter blooming Phalaenopsis and some Paphiopedilums. As you can see, the winter bloomers are starting to spike and hopefully we'll have buds coming soon, so I can share that with you. On my desk, I have a couple of frags and paphs on this side, and then as I travel behind my computer monitor, it's mostly where the Oncidium twinkles live, but right now the twinkles are kind of scattered around, so I have more Paphiopedilums in this space. Next to that, I have the Cattleya schilleriana seedlings, which are doing really well, and when spring arrives, these plants are going to go outdoors. Also, I have a couple of Maxillaria pseudo-Reichenheimiana and Reichenheimiana plants nearby. This winter, I decided to move them indoors because they weren't doing well last year, and I'm still trying to figure out how to take care of them, but I just love the foliage, so I have them right next to the monitors. To the right, I have more phals, and then further to the right, I have my summer bloomers, which are on a heat mat, and then behind it, I have a couple of Masdevallias, some Dendrobium kikis, and rescue Phalaenopsis. This area doesn't change too much, and when the growing season starts, I'm going to be moving some plants out, so there will be a little bit of shuffling and hopefully decrease the amount of plants that are here. The next space is downstairs, which is the living room, and this one also has a west-facing windowsill. This area is what I consider the display area. I have this small skinny table, and that holds most of my plants. On the windowsill, I have a couple of seedlings, and once again, when the warmer weather hits, they're going to go outdoors. Right now, the display table is kind of a catch-all, so it doesn't really look like a display, and I'm hoping to work on that soon. So right now, it has a couple of Phalaenopsis that are in spike. It has a few Calatheas that I'm just getting into, and also a Zygopedilum and a Psychopsis in the back. I definitely want to work on this space and change it up. I want it to look a lot nicer, a lot cleaner, and even though we're not entertaining people, this is where we spend the bulk of our time. So I definitely want it to look nice, and right now it's just not that nice. So to the right of this display area is kind of my overflow zone, and it has a north-facing window that kind of gets a little bit of western light. At the top, I have an Anthurium and a Ficus elastica, and the second shelf has some recovering no ID Phalaenopsis, a Masdevallia, and a Marmotes. The Marmotes is currently in bloom, but I'm just waiting for it to fully unfurl all of its petals and sepals before I do a spotlight on this plant. The next zone is the kitchen. Now, the kitchen area is pretty sparse because this is where we do all of our cooking and prepping, and I like to keep the counters really clean. Right now, there are some plants, but I'm trying to decrease the amount of plants in this area. On the left-hand side is what I call the quarantine zone. So right now it has 3 Phalaenopsis, and I'm trying to deal with a mealybug situation with these, and so I keep them separated from the rest of my collection. To the right, I have seedlings on the windowsill and a bunch of mini Vandas and mini Oncidiums there, and once again, when the weather warms up, they're gonna go outdoors. On the countertop, I have the Chysis limmingae, the Maxillaria schunkiana, the Phalaenopsis amabilis, and the Holcostylus pink yaoi, which is in bloom. The flowers on the Holcostylus are looking really lovely, and the amabilis is in spike, so hopefully buds will form soon and we'll get flowers from that. Like I said, this kitchen area, I'm trying to keep it pretty clear and minimal. So once the season warms up, I'm just hoping to have maybe 1 or 2 plants here instead of all of these plants. Then the last area is my seedling grow light area. And this area is the most crowded and cluttered of them all. I started off with just some seedlings on a heat mat under lights in this area, and it kind of collected a couple of plants I couldn't find a place for. So during this winter season, they just kind of ended up in this section so that they can get some light, some warmth, and hopefully they will make it through. And when the temperatures warm up, I have to find a new place for them. So it has a couple of dendrobiums here, an orangus, some phalaenopsis, and it has a Miltoniopsis roselii. The Miltoniopsis is actually in spike. It has 2 spikes coming in, but they're kind of wonky, so we'll see how they do. So that is a quick overview of my indoor growing spaces and how they look. I went over the plants pretty quickly and I didn't go into too much detail, but if you want to know more and more in depth, please let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel Attainable Green to follow along on my orchid growing journey. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know in the comments, and I'll do a part 2 about my outdoor growing space coming soon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!